can we expect to be 1,000-yard rushers in 2025? I've got 5 players who are going to make up my 5 bold predictions on who you can expect to go for a grand. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year-round. If that is something that you're into, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Who do you think will have a 1,000-yard rushing season for the first time 2025, right? And I say the first time because I think there's one guy on my list that is going to make that. But apart from going from the usual suspects of who we would expect to go for 1,000 yards, one of the things that I wanted to play with is I'm going to include 2 quarterbacks here. I'm going to include 2 quarterbacks here, mostly so that we have a little bit of variety and we have an opportunity to talk about teams that are, well, not the normal teams that we usually talk about. But here's how I look at this. I look at this and say, who needed help at running back, or who needed help at a quarterback in a position where they could run? And just how capable are they of exceeding expectations? So the first guy on the list for me has got to be CJ Donaldson at Ohio State. CJ Donaldson, who went into the transfer portal because he wanted an opportunity to play at the next level. He knew that this might be his last opportunity to play football, period, but also play football for a lot of money. So at the height of his popularity, at a moment when he could transfer and play right away, he's taken on a lot of suitors. And he even talked about this back in March. He said, look, there's a lot of people that had a lot of things to say, but after talking with Coach Day and talking with Coach Marotti, and then finally Coach Lachlan, I wanted to be at Ohio State. And one of the reasons I wanted to do that is the balance of the offense, the opportunities I'm going to have to carry the rock. As much as Ohio State did throw the ball a bunch in the second half of the season, what they wanted to do was run it. Like, they loved having Quinshon Judkins be the bell cow back there, the bruiser, on goal lines. And then you had your home run hitter and Travion Henderson, which gives you those one-on-ones on the outside where you can take those, fifth-generation fighters out there and throw them the ball. Donaldson, though, has not rushed more than 800 yards in a season. He's been a part of a tandem tailback crew, kind of like Penn State with Nick Singleton and Katron Allen, in such a way that kind of doesn't give you the necessary number of carries. But I think he's going to get that many carries. I think he's going to get upwards of 150 this year. Now, James Peoples is also probably going to get a lot of carries too. But I don't see any reason why you can't take this last year of eligibility for CJ Donaldson and just run the hell out of it, because that's what it's there for. James Peoples, though, you expect to be here for at least another year. Perhaps that's how it starts, right? And because CJ Donaldson gets a bunch of carries that are front-loaded, perhaps he gets to 1,000 yards toward the end of the season. But it's also a dude that has dropped a lot of weight. Like, he got to Ohio State at 243, and he's down about 20 pounds since getting there. And he feels lighter. He feels fresher. Like, one of the first things that Marotti wanted to fix was, hey, we're going to drop some weight on you because you don't need to be this big. Now, that said, Donaldson showed up to West Virginia to play tight end, and then they moved him to tailback. And that way, not unlike Tavon Austin, playing wide receiver, moving to tailback, torches Oklahoma. But I think you can expect that guy to go for 1,000 yards for the first time in his career. Second guy I expect to go for 1,000 yards this year is Justice Haynes at Michigan. Justice Haynes, who's transferring in from Alabama, who was their bell cow back in 2024, had some great touches 2023. And they need that at Michigan. I think he's the most important offensive player for them, not named Bryce Underwood. And the reason that it's not named Bryce Underwood is because Bryce Underwood plays quarterback. And Michigan basically played last year without one that was any good. Like, Davis Warren beats Ohio State, but you look at the score. It's really about Ohio State not being able to get into the end zone, and less about Michigan being able to score, or even for Warren to be able to function the offense. He made some great throws, made some great plays. But I think Underwood is already going to be a step up. Still, we expected Donovan Edwards to be what Blake Corum was, to be what Hassan Haskins was, and that's just not how it ended up for the guy that was on the cover of EA Sports' College Football 25. Haynes shows up alongside Jordan Marshall. Jordan Marshall, I'm sure Michigan fans of a certain ilk are going to be like, hey, that guy should be at the top of your list, RJ. I'm like, I don't think the dude transferring in from Alabama is transferring in to sit behind him. Now, that said, it can happen. I can see it. But I expect Justin Haynes to get the first opportunities, and because Sharon Moore is such a offensive line and offensive play caller who likes to run the ball, expect the tailback to get a lot of carries, expect the tailback to do a lot of the work, And then when you get into play action situations, try to find some wide receivers that can make people pay. But Haynes is going to get those carries. I think if you give him 200 carries, he's going to get to 1,000 yards without breaking a sweat. Could be a 1,200-yard rusher for them, and I expect great things for him. Let's get to the quarterbacks. One of the quarterbacks that I put on this list was LaNorris Sellers, mostly because we've been talking nice about LaNorris Sellers for the last 6 months. He had what I thought was an up and down year at South Carolina, because what people see at the NFL level is tools. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, he can flick dudes off like a gnat, and he can throw the ball downfield. He just doesn't have the accuracy that I would want to see from a player like him to be a top pick. For me, it's not unlike a bigger, stronger Jalen Milroe, who's not as good throwing the football. However, maybe he doesn't need to be, because you look at Anthony Richardson, you see a lot of LaNorris Sellers. I know that Shane Beamer was coming out of his skin trying to make people believe LaNorris Sellers was a Heisman Trophy candidate last year, but it wasn't there. Even on a 9-win team, you weren't doing the things that Travis Hunter was doing on a 9-win team, even at quarterback. I need to see some consistency from him throwing the ball, but because he was so good in the open field last year, expect him to get some more opportunities to just take off and run with it, because if you put people in man against him, he's going to be able to perhaps throw the ball down the field, maybe. But if you are going to allow for, say, Isaiah Augusta, who transferred in South Carolina, to run on you, or you're going to run some zone read, LaNorris is going to take advantage of that too. I think it's going to come down to how good he is with the football. So if he throws for 3,000 yards, yeah, I think he could be a 1,000-yard rusher, sacks or no sacks, because there's one play he made against Missouri that should be blowing up everybody's timeline, where he was dead. Like, it was sacked dead to rights, and he flicked Missouri defenders off, rolled to his left, threw back to his right, and a deep shot downfield. It was really cool. It's one of the more athletic plays that we've seen from a quarterback all of last year. I could simply see him being a 1,000-yard rusher. The next guy that I think you should probably give some thought to on this is John Mateer at Oklahoma. John Mateer, who rushed for 1,000 yards, sack adjusted last year at Washington State, was a 3,000-yard passer. If the offensive line doesn't get hurt like the offensive line got hurt last year, I thought the offensive line was going to be fine, and then all of a sudden you have guys breaking down in camp, and you don't look good going into week one, and it shows itself. Now, Mateer is also going to help you. He's going to be able to take care of you in a way that I think perhaps a Jackson Arnold could not, because it's not like Jackson Arnold did not have wheels. Jackson Arnold could have been a 1,000-yard rusher, probably should have been a 1,000-yard rusher, because couldn't trust him to throw the football. If LaNorris Sellers was a poor man's Jalen Milroe, Jackson Arnold was a poor man's David Ash. I just don't trust you throwing the ball, because you've given me nothing on this. And whenever he could throw the ball, Oklahoma was unstoppable, right? Like, that's the thing, or it felt that way. Then again, there's the Arizona game where he threw for 363 and Arizona still beat Oklahoma. So maybe it's the Jackson Arnold thing, maybe not. John Mateer with Ben Arbuckle as the offensive coordinator, Jay Knott as a running back and a deep threat, and Deion Burks among others, he's going to get opportunities, right? You're going to have blitzers off the edge, and you might have to outrun them to the corner. Or you might have some design runs, or you might run 5 wide just so you get him a clean look. And if he sees a Mike that he can beat, or they clear it out, yeah, let him go. I think you're going to see Mateer operate this offense not unlike Kyler Murray was operating Lincoln Riley's offense, or even Caleb Williams. If you can put it down and go, you will. If you can make it work by getting open to throw, you will. But I would expect you to give him kind of a nod toward rushing for 1,000 yards if Oklahoma's offensive line is any good, and if Oklahoma can score. That's going to show you a lot. If he's running for a bunch, Oklahoma's probably putting up 40 a game. The last guy that I really want to take a look at here, and I'm going to throw at you, is another quarterback, honestly. It's Kaidon Salter at Colorado. I think we're going to find out quite a bit about just how mobile he needs to be behind this offensive line early. Georgia Tech's going to be good, right? They're not a bad football team. They felt so good about their 7-win season last year, they made rings to commemorate it. Now they're going into this thing with another guy that can run in, like a Haynes King. I think because we have seen a utter lack of running back talent and offensive line push from Colorado since Prime arrived, you want Kaidon Salter to take as much of that off your plate as you can. Shedeur just didn't have that in the bag. That's not what he's going to do. He's going to run around and throw. That's why he took so many sacks. You don't want to take any more sacks. You want to keep the ball moving forward. If Kaidon Salter can get you 4 or 5 or even 12 every now and again, step out of bounds, that's a great way to move the ball, especially as you have these wide receivers that are going to be really, really good down the field. Just give them a little bit of time. We'll see what Marshall Faulk can add to that running back room, because while Marshall Faulk is a Pro Football and College Football Hall of Famer, he's taken over running backs coach for the worst rushing team in FBS last year. The offense did not work unless Shedeur Sanders threw the ball. That's not going to be the case with Kaidon Salter. Does that allow for your running back to get a cleaner picture down the line? I think it does. I think as we continue to look at what Colorado is going to be capable of in 2025, because honestly, we don't know. We expect him to go bowling, but after that, we'll see. It's going to be a lot on what Kaidon Salter can do with his legs, because if he can make people pay running the football to the sideline, picking up cheap first downs like Jalen Hurts for the Philadelphia Eagles or when he was at Oklahoma or at Alabama, expect them to win more games than they lose by some margin, because they're adding a dimension to their offense that we have not seen since I want to say Jalen Jones was quarterback for Deion Sanders at Jackson State. Yeah, this could be fun. So you tell me, what do you think about those 5 bold predictions of guys that could rush for 1,000 yards in 2025?